Welcome back to the channel. Today we moved the chassis over to the other side of the shop on the lift. That reason being is so we can start doing some suspension work. We kind of got carried away with a couple other things because we were waiting on getting some material in. Now we have the material, so we can start doing suspension. But before that, I'm going to do a little bit of welding on the chassis, get everything nice and stiffened up. So get the seats pulled out, get the steering wheel pulled out, get everything removed that doesn't, we don't want to get hit with sparks, and do a little welding. Having a cab in here makes it a little bit harder. Normally, if it was like a normal chassis, you would just weld it all out, you know. But this one, since we have a cab, we're going to have to weld as much as possible on the chassis without actually welding it to the subframe and frame rails. That way we can still pull the cage off to weld the underside. And in that process, we will make all the mounts for the cab, and we will pull the cab off and do all the finishing work, clean it all up and body work and all that stuff that we need to do. So it's going to be kind of a little bit of a long process, but getting it welded out will be nice and stiffen it up, and then we can get it to a complete rolling of the suspension complete. So as far as pulling the cage, I'm going to pull it from here up. So all this stuff can be welded down, and then all of these will be welded on the top side, but I won't be able to weld them here until we pull it off. So we're going to get this thing welded out as much as we can. We'll work around, bounce around it quite a bit to try to minimize all the warping, and then we'll pull it off. All right, so I welded everything that I could for the whole entire cage portion. This tube I didn't weld because this is going to come back off, and then it's going to remove from the frame rail down here. So I welded just the top side of this one. That way I can weld underneath this one when we put it back on. But everything else is all welded up. We'll also be removing it from the B pillar here and there, and then the front of the A pillar and the intrusion bars will also be being removed. So we were able to get almost everything on the underside just because we have a sunroof, but in each corner here and there, as well as underneath the intrusion bars, need to be welded. So we just welded a mount right here real quick. That is going to locate the cab on each side in the front. That's just the door hinge. Normally we would weld the cab to the boat sides, like mine. It's kind of hard to see because it's all smashed up these days, but normally we just weld them to it. But in this case, we're going to get it all nice and painted. And then if you paint it and then try to weld it, it just doesn't look very good. So we're going to make this one bolt in. So before we pull the cage up to get everything welded out on the underside and do the body work on the cab, which essentially just means cutting everything out the rest of the way and cleaning it all up and then making it look nice, we will be going through and welding some of the chassis out real quick, and then we need to make the Atlas transfer case mount and the disconnects for the front seat mount, and then the Crossmember bar right there. Alright, so this Crossmember tube is just to hold the floor mounts as well as the inner seat mount. We're going to put some disconnects in it, and that way we can remove it if we need to work on anything, and then that way all the drivetrain can easily come out the top if need be. These are nothing super fancy, they're just for 1.5 inches, so let's get these in. So we just took the adapter and drew the lines where we want to cut it, and then a line across to keep it straight. That way everything lines back up how we want. Alright, with this tacked back in, we'll throw the seats in real quick and make sure that all the mounts line up, and if they do, we'll weld it in. Alright, all the seat mount bolts are in, all 8. This one, on this side of the Crossmember bar, I had to cut the tack. It was a little bit rolled back, so now everything's all fitting, so now I can actually tack it in, and then it's ready to weld. Alright, so for the Atlas mount, we're going to design it on the computer. Probably kind of dumb. You just could buy one, but building stuff's fun. So we're gonna build one on the computer. I made a quick cardboard mock-up. That gives me measurements I need to know, and then I can build it from there. First time using the table to cut through 8s. Looks like it did a pretty good job. We're going to be putting a bushing here and then drilling holes and tapping this side, so that way we can have it can bolt down and squeeze the output. All right, so we got that bracket bolted up. Just got to put a bushing down here and then make a couple tabs to the chassis.
It's like gonna turn all the shit on.
Oh, I didn't hear you. No, that's why I asked to be checked. All right, we got the cage welded up and got a couple little things done. The crossmember disconnects in and welded in, and the Atlas mount mocked up. Tacked together, we'll pull it out to full weld it, but now we can start doing coilovers and suspension. Thanks for watching.